Hello, and welcome to the 2013 Whole Foods Magazine Retailer Survey webcast. I'm Katie Widmer, Editorial Assistant at Whole Foods Magazine, and your host for this presentation. We have a great presentation for you about the state of natural products independent retailing based on our annual retailer survey. Today's discussion will cover the survey itself, info about the participants, annual sales data, foot traffic, gross and net profit, expenditures like marketing, rent, and inventory, and plenty of merchandising tips along the way. Here with me today are two presenters who will bring you all this information. First, we have Kaylin Chiarello-Ebner, editor and associate publisher of Whole Foods Magazine. Welcome, Kaylin.
Hi, Katie.
Also here with us is Jay Jacobowitz, merchandising editor at Whole Foods Magazine and founder and president of Retail Insights. Welcome, Jay.
Thank you, Katie.
So let's jump right in with some background on the survey. Kaylin, can you tell us how you collected the data?
Sure. For 36 years, Whole Foods Magazine has been tracking trends in sales at independent natural product stores through our annual retailer survey. As we've done in years past, we contacted stores in August and asked them to tell us a little about their sales and profits in the prior 12 months. The complete analysis was published in the December 2013 issue of Whole Foods Magazine. You can read it online at WholeFoodsMagazine.com.
What kind of participation did you receive this year?
We had really strong survey pool with stores from all over the U.S. More than half of the participants were from the West and the East, which formed a combined 55% of the survey pool. The rest were from the Midwest, South, and Rocky Mountains. We had pretty even participation across all markets, from major metropolitan cities to large towns. Stores averaged 23 years in business, of which 19 were under the current owner. I thought it was interesting that several stores changed hands within the past 5 years. This could signal a next generation of natural products leaders stepping up to the plate as older individuals take a step back. So we're planning to follow this trend closely in the coming years. Many stores had some online sales, but the vast majority were brick-and-mortar sales. It's important to note as well that our participants were only non-public, independent retailers. Our figures don't include some of the biggest retailers in the industry like Whole Foods Market, Sprouts, Vitamin Shoppe, and GNC. For those large stores plus data on all 8 retail channels that sell natural products, Jay will give us an update a bit later from the Retail Insights 2013 Retail Universe for premium natural and organic food, supplement, and personal care sales.
What kinds of stores did most participants represent? Large grocers, supplement chains, something in between?
It was a mix. Stores, big and small, with diverse sales participated in the survey. So for that very reason, we again broke down our analysis by store type, namely by how much perishable food was sold. Whole Foods takes the position that perishables is the single biggest factor in a store's foot traffic, size, and overall sales. So all of our charts and tables are broken down by percentage of perishable sales. When we calculate total perishable sales, we include 4 departments: produce, refrigerated foods, frozen items, and prepared foods. So for all stores, we saw that businesses had the largest percentage of sales from perishable foods, which accounted for more than 40% of their sales. And 27% of our overall sales came from supplements. Perishables and supplements are the largest departments in these stores that really drive sales. The average gross lease area for all store types was 4,511 square feet, and average selling space was about 3,421 square feet. But this varied widely by store type. Stores that sold the most perishables, more than 55%, averaged more than 13,746 gross lease area square feet, while the smallest stores that sold the lowest percentage of perishables, 0 to 9%, had a gross lease area of 1,534 square feet on average.
I bet the sales numbers were pretty diverse too, right?
They were. Total sales for all stores averaged $2.7 million per store, and they spent $1.68 million on inventory last year, which was 62% of their overall sales. We found a direct link between the amount of perishables a store sold and their gross sales. The biggest earners were the perishable-focused stores, with $14.2 million in sales. Next came the 35 to 54% perishables group, with $6.5 million in annual sales. The trend continued down to the 0 to 9% perishable stores with less than 5 locations. They grossed just over $523,000 this year. It's also helpful to consider sales alongside store size. Overall, stores averaged more than $433 per gross lease area square foot and nearly $567 per retailing square foot. But stores with the most perishable sales had double and nearly triple these figures at about $865 per gross lease area square foot and $1,435 per retailing square foot. Compare that with the supplement stores that average 0 to 9% of their sales from perishables. Those with 5 or more locations earned about $370 per gross lease area square foot and $435 per retail area square foot. Supplement stores with fewer than 5 locations earned $346 per gross lease area square foot and $428 per retail square foot. The lowest sales per square foot came from the 10 to 19% perishables group. These stores had $336 per gross lease area square foot and $426 per retail area square foot.
That's really interesting. As we saw last year, this middle level of perishable stores, with more sales from perishables than smaller stores but less than the larger stores, can be a less efficient store model. Jay, you've written about this issue in the past. Can you tell our listeners a little more about this group of stores?
Yes, Katie. As we see again throughout this year's survey, making the leap from a supplements-focused store to a food-focused store can be a bit tricky. Average basket size, or the average sale per customer, was lower for stores selling between 10% and 34% perishables, our middle group of perishable stores, at $28 to $30 per customer, compared to supplements-focused stores, which are smaller, at $32 to $34, and especially compared with higher perishable stores, which enjoyed average sales of $37 to $52 per customer. So in this middle group, with perishable sales between 10% and 34%, where you don't quite have enough fresh food to attract an everyday shopper, you actually begin to lose efficiency compared to supplements-focused stores, and you don't yet gain the benefits of being a truly perishables-focused store that has reached a critical mass of fresh foods that draws in the daily shopper.
Now, what about profits, Kaylin?
Well, gross profit averaged just over $1 million per store, which was a gross profit margin of about 37.85%. Most stores came close to this percentage, with the highest margin coming from the supplements chains with 5 or more locations. Their gross profit was over 41%. For all stores, the average net profit percentage, that's cash after expenses but before taxes as a percentage of overall sales, was over 4.5%. Again, supplement-focused stores made out the best from this vantage point. Those with 5 or more locations had net profits of 7%, and those with fewer than 5 stores had the highest net profits of all, with nearly 8.5%. But when you look at the actual dollars, the more perishables, the more profits overall. As I said, the average gross profit for all stores was just over $1 million, and net profit was about $125,000. But there was a big swing for both figures by store type. Large grocery stores with more than 55% perishables had the most gross profit with $5 million. Net profit was over $467,000. And supplement stores with the fewest locations took home the least, just over $200,000 gross and just over $44,000 net.
Kaylin, you said earlier that perishables and supplements were the biggest contributors to sales at independent stores. Can you break this down even more?
Sure. So stores earned more than $1 million from perishable foods categories last year. That was about 40% of their total revenue. Within perishables, the top earning segments were prepared foods and fresh produce. As we look closer at the 4 fresh food categories, we can see how at the highest levels, fresh produce and prepared foods really drive sales. In the 55% plus perishables group, fresh produce delivered an average of $2.9 million in sales per store, while prepared foods came in at a whopping $3.3 million per store. This was 44% of their average total sales of $14.2 million for just these 2 categories. Supplements continue to be a strong contributor to sales and profits in all store types, and in particular continue to drive sales in stores that sell fewer perishables, including supplement-focused stores with 0 to 9% perishables, and even stores selling as much as 34% perishables. Supplements remain the largest dollar category in all 4 of these store models, from 0% perishables to 34% perishables.
So, Jay, what does all this say about store traffic and overall efficiency?
One of the most interesting things we learned from the survey is that the averages can be misleading. What I mean is, when you average the results of perishables-heavy stores with supplements-focused stores, you do get an average. But you can't actually find an average store in the survey itself. For example, the average basket size, or average sale per customer in the overall survey was $39. But supplements-focused stores clocked in at $32 to $34, while food-focused stores rang in $37 to $52 per average sale. We see the same thing when we look at customers per day. The overall survey average was 201 customers per day, but that was a combination of 50 to 80 customers per day in supplements-focused stores and 500 to more than 700 customers per day in food-focused stores. Again, no store group actually averaged 200 customers per day.
Jay, how did the amount of perishables affect overall store efficiency?
In store efficiency, we found another example of the challenges of trying to carry more foods. One of the key measures of efficiency is inventory turns, or the number of times per year a store will sell through its entire inventory dollar value. Food stores, with their emphasis on fresh perishables, will turn their inventories much faster than supplements-focused stores. Think about it. The shelf life for fresh lettuce is a few days, but the shelf life for supplements can be a year or more. And we did see this at the 2 ends of the spectrum in the survey, with supplement stores turning their inventories 5 to 9 times per year, far more slowly than food-heavy stores, which turned their inventories 14 to 18 times per year. That's what you'd expect. But here's the interesting thing. Stores in the 2 middle groups, with 10% to 34% perishables, turned their inventories only 7 to 8 times per year, far more slowly than food-heavy stores, and slower even than the most efficient supplements-focused stores, which turned their inventories 9 times per year.
The WholeFoods survey article says that stores put about $41,500 into marketing themselves, which was 1.5% of their overall sales. Jay, you're a merchandising expert. Is this marketing spending appropriate? I'd also like to hear about what kinds of marketing techniques were used to draw shoppers in, and what you feel were the most successful strategies.
Across all store types, word of mouth is still a universal way stores attract new customers. This free advertising may be why actual cash spending on marketing falls between 1% and 2% for all stores in the survey, lower than you might expect. But even so, take a look at the 10% to 19% perishable store group. They spent next to the lowest amount of absolute dollars on marketing, just $9,900. This could be because they also have the next to least dollars in profits, just $65,000, which may make them feel less able to spend more freely on marketing.
Briefly, Kaylin, what large expenses did stores incur besides marketing?
Stores told us they spent about 4% of their overall sales on rent, which was $115,000 annually, though this varies by store location and size. If you look down the column, the 10 to 19% group is 50% higher on average, the highest percentage overall. They had nearly 6.4% of their overall sales spent on rent.
Any other spending we should know about?
Well, stores averaged about $469,000 in labor spending last year, which was 17% of their overall sales. I thought it was interesting that the number of full-time equivalent employees was about the same per 1,000 gross lease area square foot for smaller stores. That includes the 0 to 9% perishable stores up to the 20 to 34% perishable stores. It ranged from 2 to 2.8 full-time equivalents.
Right, Kaylin. This is a great illustration of how supplements dominate the store model, all the way from 0% perishables up to 34% perishables. Remember, these 4 store types get most of their sales from supplements. The vitamin and supplement department is the largest on a dollar basis in all 4 of these store types. I believe that this is why we see a lower number of full-time equivalent employees per 1,000 square feet in these 4 store types, because the owners of these stores still think of themselves as quote-unquote supplements retailers. And while those in the 2 groups from 10% to 34% perishables may have added some fresh produce and perhaps a smoothie or a coffee bar and some sandwiches, they have not bit the bullet and hired the food service professionals that really drive a fresh foods menu, and haven't really committed to being a destination for a broad selection of everyday fresh produce that shoppers can count on for putting together meals for themselves and their families.
So, to sum up, was 2013 a good year for natural retailers?
Definitely. We asked stores to tell us whether their sales increased from the year before. 9 in 10 said sales were up. About 1/4 of businesses made some kind of physical improvement to their store, and 30% want to add square footage next year. I truly feel that our data prove that stores have an active customer base that is strong and thriving. They value natural and organic products and are going to continue to speak with their wallets.
Jay, can you tell us about Retail Insights' 2013 Retail Universe for premium natural and organic food, supplement, and personal care sales, and give us any predictions for what we might see next year?
Sure. What's going on in the natural retail space is extremely dynamic, and we're extremely proud of this table that we're presenting here as part of the Whole Foods annual survey. Retail Insights, my company, tracks 8 distinct retail channels encompassing different types of stores. Looking at the table here, starting at the top with club stores such as Costco and Sam's and BJ's Club, then we move to what we're calling compact grocers. That's smaller stores that are no more than 20,000 square feet, like Vitamin Cottage and Trader Joe's. Independent retailers and co-ops is a 3rd distinct channel. And 4th are mass merchandisers such as Walmart and Target, the big behemoth retailers. We also follow pharmacy chains and independent pharmacies because those stores sell quite a bit of supplements. Conventional supermarkets like Kroger, Safeway, and Wegmans also, as everyone knows by now, have done much more than dip a toe in the natural waters, but are continually expanding their natural and organic sets. Then we come to the supernaturals like Whole Foods, Sprouts, and Earth Fare that are dominating the headlines in the industry. And finally, the 8th channel, vitamin chains like GNC, Vitamin Shop, and Vitamin World. Altogether, we're tracking over 100,000 stores that sell some sort of natural and organic products. The industry total for 2013 was $58 billion and change, which is just under 10%, 9.66% of the total food store industry of $600 billion. I want to spend a moment on looking at the individual channels so that you can get a sense for what their growth was and how they expanded their store counts. So looking at the percentage change in sales from 2012 and the percentage change in store count from 2012, taking a look at club stores, we see that they were fairly even. Their sales grew 3% and their store count grew just over 2.5%. Compact grocers, again, these are stores that are no more than 20,000 square feet in size, lost 2.2% in sales. But there's an asterisk here. If you'll notice, they lost 26% of their store count. This is mainly because of the exit of Tesco's Fresh and Easy on the West Coast. We took those stores out of the base this year because of the change in ownership and the exit from the country of Tesco. Independent retailers grew a really robust 12.14%, and their store counts increased only less than a point. This indicates to me that, as we saw last year, Kaylin, the shakeout of the last several years with the recession has really left a stronger, more robust universe of independent retail stores that are doing just fine, thank you. Mass merchandisers like Walmart and Target grew at just about 5%. Their store counts were fairly stable altogether, growing much less than a point. Pharmacy chains and independent pharmacists grew about 3%, and again, their store counts were fairly stable. Conventional supermarkets grew almost 7%. That's really quite remarkable for this largest group of stores that we're tracking here. 6.55% growth with store counts growing just 1.33%. That means that their natural and organic sets are picking up momentum. Supernaturals really led the pack with 16.57% growth and a robust 12% store growth. That's not surprising since these stores are being very, very aggressive. And finally, vitamin chains grew a really respectable almost 10% with a store count growth of 3%, so we can see that there is momentum with more customers shopping more frequently in those stores as well. Overall, for the entire universe of 109,000 stores selling natural and organic products, the average store sells $530,000 worth of product at an average of $534 per square foot annually. Again, we are just under 10% of the total food dollar in the industry at $58 billion and change out of a total universe of $600 billion in total food store sales. I believe that because the natural pie is expanding, as more and more people make the connection between eating well and feeling well, that we will continue to see growth in every retail channel in 2014 and beyond. As we've said for many years, the natural movement is here to stay and is gaining momentum as millennials begin forming their households, have children, and embrace the values of clean, sustainable, healthy lifestyles in what they buy and what they eat. And here's our main takeaway from this year's survey. Independent natural products retailers who provided an uplifting, knowledgeable, and personalized shopping experience for their customers grew in 2013, and we believe will continue to grow in 2014 and beyond.
And that just about wraps up our presentation. Thanks so much for listening. Retailers, this analysis wouldn't be possible without your participation. So watch for our next survey questionnaire faxes and emails in July 2014. We'd love to have your participation. Thanks for joining us today, and be sure to check out the complete analysis in our December issue at WholeFoodsMagazine.com.